She lost a bet and was forced to live with a black single dad. But what happened next shocked you. Before we start today's story, comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe if you haven't already. You won't want to miss what's next. In a tall, shiny building in Manhattan, everyone sat nervously in a big room. The walls were made of glass, and the long table was brown and shiny. Serafina Sarah Valerius, or just Sarah, stood at the end of the table. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and wore a white suit that showed she was the boss. She was only 31 years old, but she had turned her grandfather's company, Valerius Industries, into a huge business worth billions of dollars. She hit her hand on the table. "Marriage? You want me to get married just to keep my company?" she said angrily. The oldest man in the room, Mr. Silas Vance, smiled in a mean way. He was 70 years old and always wanted to take her job. "The rules say that before your 32nd birthday you must be married. Otherwise, the company will belong to the board," he said proudly. "My grandfather was old-fashioned and unfair," Sarah shouted. Her friend Jackson Rise, the company's smart CFO, spoke softly. "Maybe we can fight this rule in court." But Sarah shook her head. "No. Let's make a deal. I'll marry someone in 6 months, but if I do, you must all quit your jobs on the board." Everyone gasped. Mr. Vance laughed. "You? You haven't had a boyfriend in 3 years. You'd marry a stranger just to win?" Sarah crossed her arms. "I'd marry a homeless man if it means getting rid of you." Mr. Vance's smile grew wider. "Then I'll choose your husband." "What?" Sarah asked, her voice low and dangerous. "You said you'd marry anyone, so I choose who. If you marry him and stay married for a year, we'll resign. But if you refuse or divorce early, you lose everything." Her lawyer tried to stop her. "Miss Valerius, this is crazy." But Sarah only said, "I accept." Jackson whispered, "Sarah, don't." But Sarah never lost a bet, and she wasn't going to start now. "Make the papers," she said. "Mr. Vance will pick the man. I'll marry him. And when I do, you all disappear." Mr. Vance smiled like a cat that caught a mouse. "Oh, I already have someone in mind." 3 days later, Sarah stood outside a small community center in the Bronx. The walls were covered with children's art. Inside, laughter filled the air. "This must be a joke," Sarah muttered. Before she could go in, a little girl ran into her legs. "Oops, sorry, lady," the girl said, with big brown eyes and 2 fluffy pigtails. A deep voice called out, "Zora, be careful." A tall man appeared. He had dark brown skin, short hair with a little gray, and kind amber-colored eyes. His shirt was messy with paint in it, and his jeans were old. "I'm Kairos Lennox," he said. "I run this place." Sarah blinked. "You're the man Mr. Vance chose?" Kairos nodded slowly. "That's me, the man who's supposed to marry the billionaire." He looked tired. "Miss Valerius, I don't like this game, but Vance promised to fund this center for 10 years if I agree. These kids need food, help, and a safe place. So yes, I'll marry you, but only for them." Sarah was surprised. "He bribed you?" "Maybe," Kairos said, "but I'm doing this for the children, not for you." Sarah felt something strange. Respect. "Fine. We'll get married, live separate, and just act like a married couple for 1 year." "No," Kairos said firmly. "My daughter Zora has already lost her mom. If we do this, we do it right. You move in with us. We act like a family, and she must never know it's fake." "You want me to live in the Bronx?" Sarah asked. "Yes," he said. "If you want to prove you can marry anyone, live like anyone." Jackson laughed softly. "He's got a point, girl." Sarah stared at him. This man who worked so hard for kids and loved his daughter so much. "Fine," she said. 1 year. 1 year, Kairos agreed. "But if you hurt my daughter, the deal is over." Sarah nodded. "I won't hurt her." 2 weeks later, Sarah stood in a courthouse in a simple white dress. Her mother, Genevieve Valerius, sat in the front row, looking upset. "I can't believe you're marrying a man like him," she whispered. "A single father. What will people say?" "Hopefully they'll say I kept my company," Sarah said. The door opened. Kairos walked in wearing a neat navy blue suit. Beside him, Zora skipped with a basket full of yellow flower petals. "Miss Sarah," she cried. "You look like a princess. Are you going to be my new mommy? Everyone went silent. Kairos looked shocked. It's okay, Sarah said gently, bending down. I'm going to be your dad's wife. That makes me your stepmom. Is that okay? Zora thought for a moment, then smiled. Will you braid my hair? Daddy tries, but he's not very good. Sarah laughed softly. I'd love to braid your hair. The judge spoke, and soon they said, I do. When the judge said, You may kiss the bride, Sarah whispered, We have to, for appearances. Kairos leaned down. Their lips touched for a second, but something strange happened. Sarah felt warmth shoot through her whole body. Kairos quickly stepped back, looking surprised too. Yay, Daddy and Miss Sarah are married, Zora shouted, clapping. Outside, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted. Mr. Vance had sent them. The news would spread fast. Kairos's friend Malachi whispered, You sure about this, man? She doesn't look like she belongs in the Bronx. It's for the community center, Kairos said. 1 year. Malachi's wife Iona crossed her arms. That woman's never cooked a meal in her life. How will she live in your tiny apartment? Kairos shrugged. She'll learn. But when he saw Sarah kneel down to accept a dandelion from Zora, her white dress getting dirty, he wasn't so sure anymore. Maybe Sarah wasn't what he thought. Sarah arrived at Kairos's small apartment with 12 suitcases and her assistant, Bryce. This is it, Bryce whispered. It's fine. You can go, Sarah said. The apartment was on the 4th floor, no elevator. By the 3rd trip, Sarah was sweating. An older lady from next door peeked out. You're Kairos's new wife? She asked. I'm Mrs. Paloma Flores. You better be good to that little girl. She's an angel. And to Kairos, too. He's been through enough. Sarah nodded. I will. Inside, the apartment was small but cozy. There were pictures of Zora, colorful drawings on the walls, and many books. This is your room, Kairos said, pointing to his bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch. I can't take your bed, Sarah said. You're doing this for your company. I'm doing it for my community. It's only fair, he replied. Just then, Zora ran in holding a paper. Look, Miss Sarah, I drew our family. There were 3 stick people, one tall and brown, one small and brown, and one tall with yellow hair. That's you, Daddy, and me, she said proudly. Sarah smiled softly. It's beautiful. Can I keep it? Really, you want it? Zora asked, eyes bright. Of course, Sarah said. Zora ran to get tape to hang it on the wall. Kairos watched her quietly. Don't do that, he said. Do what? Sarah asked. Make her think you care if you don't, he said seriously. She's been hurt before. Sarah frowned. What makes you think I don't care? He looked at her sadly. Because you're from a world where people play games. She's from mine, where people get hurt. Sarah didn't know what to say. She looked around at the warm little home, like the laughter of Zora echoing from the next room, and realized something important. That night, Sarah lay in Kairos's bed. It smelled like him. Warm, like sandalwood, and something special that was just him. She could hear him reading a bedtime story to little Zora through the thin wall. His voice was soft, kind, and full of love. Daddy, Zora asked in a tiny voice, is Miss Sarah going to leave like Mommy did? Mommy didn't want to leave, baby. She got very sick. But Miss Sarah won't get sick, right? I don't know, Zora, but she's here now. I like her, Zora said. She smells nice, and she smiled at my picture. Yeah, she did. Do you like her, Daddy? There was a long, quiet pause. I'm trying to, baby, he said softly. I'm trying. Living with the Lenos was like being in a new world for Sarah. She woke up at 5 a.m. to find Kairos making breakfast. She helped Zora get ready for school and learned to braid her hair by watching YouTube videos. Then she tried to work on her computer while Kairos went to the community center. One morning, Kairos found her struggling with Zora's hair. You don't have to do this, he said gently. I've been managing, Sarah said, trying hard to tie the elastic band. When was the last time you slept more than 5 hours? He asked. That's not your concern. For the next year it is, Kairos said. We're supposed to be a family, remember? The word family hung in the air between them. It felt heavy, full of feelings they didn't want to talk about. At Valerius Industries, people whispered behind Sarah's back. Some board members smirked, and Vance looked so happy every time he saw her. "How's married life?" Vance asked with a fake smile. "Wonderful," Sarah said calmly. "Kairos and Zora are delightful, and our new neighborhood is very different from the Upper East Side. It's refreshingly real." She surprised herself, because she truly meant it. People there really did know each other's names. After the meeting, her friend Jackson whispered, "You look tired." "Zora had nightmares last night," Sarah said. "Kairos was fixing a burst pipe, so I stayed with her." Jackson raised her eyebrows. "Oh my gosh, you're starting to care." "Don't be silly," Sarah said quickly. "I'm just keeping up appearances." But that night, when Zora had another nightmare, she ran to Sarah's room instead of her dad's. Sarah held her and sang an old lullaby she remembered from her childhood. "You're nice, Miss Sarah," Zora whispered sleepily. "Not like the mean lady Daddy thought you'd be." "What mean lady?" "The one Mr. Vance told Daddy about. He said you were an ice lady who only cares about money." Sarah felt angry, but kept her voice soft. "I'm not always nice, sweetheart, but I'll try to be nice to you and your daddy." "Promise?" "Promise." Kairos was standing in the doorway. He had heard everything. He thought maybe he had been wrong about her, or maybe she was just good at pretending. Time would tell. 6 weeks into the marriage, Sarah arrived at the community center and saw chaos. Parents were shouting, kids were crying, and Kairos stood in the middle trying to calm everyone down. "What's happening?" she asked Malachi. "The city's shutting us down," he said angrily. "They say the kitchen's not up to code. It's nonsense. Someone paid them off." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Vance," she said quietly. "How much will it cost to fix?" she asked Kairos. $50,000, he said. "We don't have it. Insurance won't cover it, and the emergency fund is empty." Without a second thought, Sarah took out her phone and sent the money from her personal account. "Done," she said. The whole room went silent. "You can't just," Kairos began. "I just did. Those kids need this place. Accept it or don't." "We can't take your charity," Malachi said. "It's not charity," Sarah said firmly. "I'm married to the director. This is my family too." The word family came out naturally this time, and Kairos noticed. Iona smiled. If she's family, then it's not charity. It's what family does. Later, Kairos pulled Sarah aside. "Why did you do that?" "Because Vance is trying to hurt you to get to me. I won't let him use these kids as pawns." "So this is about winning?" "No," Sarah said, looking around at the children. "This is about Zora having her after-school program. It's about Mrs. Flores' grandson being safe. It's about you being a good person." Kairos looked at her softly. "I misjudged you." "No," Sarah whispered. "You judged me right. I was the ice queen, but maybe I don't want to be anymore." That night, Kairos cooked dinner, real food, not takeout. Zora talked happily about her day, and Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years, belonging. "Miss Sarah?" Zora asked. "Are you happy right now?" "Yes, sweetheart. I'm very happy." "Good. Daddy's happy too. He smiles more now." Kairos choked on his water. "Zora! It's true. Miss Paloma said so." Later, after Zora fell asleep, Sarah and Kairos sat on the fire escape, sharing a bottle of wine. "She's not wrong," Kairos said. "I have been happier. It's nice having someone to share life with, even if it's just for now." "What if," Sarah began, then stopped. "What if what?" "Nothing. Just what if?" They sat in silence, looking at the city lights, both thinking about the same thing, but too scared to say it. 3 months later, it was time for Valerius Industries' annual charity gala. Sarah had avoided most parties, but this one she couldn't skip. "I need you to come with me," she told Kairos. "To your fancy party? I don't think so." "You're my husband. People are wondering why you never come." "Let them wonder." "Please, Daddy," Zora said. "I want to see Miss Sarah in a princess dress. You'll look handsome in a tuxedo." So Kairos ended up in a tuxedo, standing at the fancy hotel but feeling out of place. "You look amazing," Sarah said honestly. "You look like you belong here," he replied. "So do you," she said. Inside, people stared. An Upper East Side businesswoman with a black man from the Bronx. It was gossip gold. "So you're the husband," said Mr. Sterling, a board member. "Quite the Cinderella story." "Actually," Kairos said, smiling, "I think I'm more like the beast, the one who teaches the princess there's more to life than ballrooms." Sarah smiled behind her glass. Then came Genevieve Valerius. "So, Kairos, what do you do?" "I run a community center for kids." "How noble. And your daughter?" "Mixed children can have such problems." Kairos's face turned hard. "My daughter is perfect. Of course, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did," Sarah said, stepping in. "Mother, if you insult my stepdaughter again, we're leaving." "Your stepdaughter?" "Serafina, you can't be serious." "Very serious," Sarah said firmly. "Zora is brilliant, kind, and artistic. You'd know that if you weren't blinded by prejudice." Everyone was staring now. Then Vance walked over, smirking. "Trouble in paradise?" "No trouble," Kairos said calmly. "Just setting boundaries." "I wonder how long this charade will last," Vance sneered. "A year is a long time to pretend." "Who's pretending?" Sarah said, leaning into Kairos. "I've never been happier." Then she kissed him. Not a small kiss, but a real one. The whole room went quiet. When they pulled apart, Kairos's eyes were dark with emotion. "We should go," he said softly. On the drive home, silence filled the car until Kairos stopped. "You can't do that," he said quietly. "Do what?" "Kiss me like that when it doesn't mean anything." "Who says it doesn't mean anything?" "Sarah, don't. We both know what this is. You needed a husband. I needed funding. In 9 months, you'll leave." "What if I don't want to?" "Don't want to what?" "Go back. What if I want this, us, to be real?" "You don't mean that," he said. "I do," she whispered. "When I'm with you and Zora, I'm the version of myself I like." Kairos kissed her then, pulling her close. "This complicates everything," he said when they stopped. "Everything's already complicated." Sarah smiled. "What's one more thing?" 4 months later, Zora overheard something she shouldn't have. Sarah was on a work call and didn't know Zora had come home early. "No, Preston, the marriage is fine. Yes, only 8 months left. I know what happens after the year." Zora's face went pale. She ran to the community center, crying. "She's leaving," she sobbed to her dad. "Miss Sarah's leaving in 8 months. You lied." Kairos's heart broke. "Baby, please let me explain." "No, you both lied. She doesn't love us." Later, when Sarah arrived, she found Kairos packing his office. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Ending this," he said coldly. "I won't let you hurt her again." "Please, let me explain." "Explain what? That our daughter just found out her stepmom is temporary?" "Our daughter?" Sarah said softly. He froze. "She is our daughter," she cried. "Maybe not by blood, but she is. You can't play with people's hearts like this, Sarah." "You're right," she said. "You stopped being a deal the moment Zora called me because she had a nightmare. You stopped being a deal when you held my hand at the school meeting. This stopped being fake when I realized I love you." Kairos stared. "You don't mean that." "I do," she said, tears falling. "I love you. Kairos Lennox, I love your silly jokes, how you sing in the shower, and how you make mac and cheese because Zora doesn't like the box kind. I love Zora too, her art, her laughter, her heart. Forget the year. Forget everything else. I want this. I want us forever." A small voice spoke from the doorway. "You mean it?" Zora asked. "You want to stay?" Sarah knelt down. "More than anything in the world." Zora ran to her and hugged her tight. "I love you, Mommy Sarah." The word mommy broke something open in Sarah's heart. She held Zora tight, crying. Kairos came over and wrapped his arms around them both. "We'll talk later," he said, smiling through tears. "Talk later," Zora said. "Family hug now." The next morning, Sarah walked into the big meeting room. Her face looked serious and brave. Everyone in the room stopped talking. Even Vance, the mean man who always shouted orders, looked nervous. "I'm calling off the bet," Sarah said loudly. The room filled with noise. People gasped and whispered. "You can't," Vance yelled. "You'll lose everything." "I don't care," Sarah said. "I'm not using my family for your silly game anymore." "Your family?" said Vivian, Sarah's mother, who was there too. She laughed coldly. That man and his little girl are not your family. Yes, they are, Sarah said, her eyes shining. They are more family than you ever were, Mother. If you stop the bet, said Mr. Preston Blackwood, you lose the company right away. Then I'll lose it, Sarah said softly, because I finally know what really matters. Are you crazy? Asked Jackson, her best friend. No, Sarah smiled. I just found my mind and my heart. This is so silly, Vance said, laughing meanly. You're giving up. I knew you couldn't last a year. Oh, I'll last the year, Sarah said, lifting her chin proudly. In fact, I'll last a lifetime. I'm staying married to Kairos because I love him, not because of a bet. But that means, Vance started. It means, Sarah said, I'm not doing it for money anymore. I'm doing it for love. The contract still stands. Mr. Blackwood looked through the papers. She's right, he said. The contract says she must stay married for a year. It doesn't say why. Vance's face turned red like a tomato. This is cheating. No, Sarah said calmly. This is love, something you clearly don't understand. She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back. Oh, and Vance, I know about all the tricks you did, trying to close the community center, spying on my family, hiring photographers. I have proof. If you bother my family again, I'll take you to court. When the meeting ended, Jackson ran to Sarah. Are you really in love with him? She asked. Desperately, Sarah said with a smile. And if I lose the company, I don't care. I'll still have something better. Love. Who are you? Jackson laughed. And what have you done with the old Serafina Valerius? She fell in love with a single dad from the Bronx, Sarah said, and became someone better. That evening, Sarah went home and opened the door. The apartment was full of people. Malachi, Iona, Mrs. Flores, and lots of parents and kids from the community center. What's going on? She asked. Then she saw Kairos. He was standing in the middle of the room, wearing the suit from their wedding day. Everyone went quiet. Serafina Valerius, Kairos said. You married me in a courthouse for a bet, but I want to marry you for real, in front of our family. He got down on one knee and took out a simple gold ring. I don't have diamonds, he said, and I can't give you luxury, but I can give you love, loyalty, and a family that will always stand by you. Will you marry me again, for real this time? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Kairos, I love you, she said. I love your kindness, your strength, the way you care for Zora. I love how you make me a better person. Say yes, Mommy, Zora shouted, jumping up and down. Yes! Sarah laughed, crying and smiling at once. Yes, of course. Everyone cheered loudly. Mrs. Flores had become an online minister so she could marry them. Jackson and Malachi stood as witnesses. When Kairos kissed Sarah, Zora threw flower petals she had hidden in her pockets. Sarah felt it in her heart. This was the happiest day of her life. 8 months later, exactly 1 year after the first wedding, Sarah walked into the boardroom again. This time she looked strong and confident. Kairos stood beside her. Good morning, gentlemen, she said. I believe you have some resignations to give. This is ridiculous, Vance shouted. The whole marriage was fake. Was it? Asked Preston Blackwood. He held up a folder. We have 67 witnesses, teachers, neighbors, and community members, who all say Mr. and Mrs. Leno's are truly in love. She lives in the Bronx, shouted another man, the CEO of Valerius Industries in a small apartment. And she's doing better than ever, said Anastasia Chen. Profits are up 18%. People love her work with the community. It's still wrong, Vance yelled. Then a calm voice came from the doorway. No, Vance, it's exactly what my father would have wanted. Everyone turned. It was Vivian, Sarah's mother. I was wrong, Serafina, she said softly. You've become a true leader, one who cares about everyone, not just rich people. She looked at Vance. You thought you could destroy her, but you never imagined she'd find love. Vivian lifted a USB drive. And I have proof from your office camera. You said you wanted to get rid of that uppity girl? That's called fraud, Vance. His face went pale. You can't prove it. Oh, I can, Vivian said. Unless you and your friends resign now. One by one, the bad board members signed their resignations. Vance was last. You'll regret this, he hissed. The only thing I regret, Sarah said, is that it took losing a bet to find what I really won. After they left, Jackson popped a bottle of soda that sprayed everywhere. You did it. You saved the company and you got the guy and the kid. Zora grinned proudly. She wore a shirt that said, My mommy is a CEO. That night, the family of 3 celebrated in their tiny apartment with Chinese food and board games. We could move now, Kairos said. You don't have to stay here. I'm not staying to prove anything, Sarah said. This is home. This is where we became a family. Maybe Zora needs her own room soon, Kairos said. Then we'll find a bigger place, but still here, Sarah smiled. We're not leaving our people. Kairos kissed her head. How did I get so lucky? You lost a bet, Sarah teased. Or maybe I won one, he said, laughing. Mommy, Daddy, Zora asked sleepily. Can I have a baby brother or sister? Sarah and Kairos looked at each other and smiled. Would you like that? Sarah asked. Yes, please, Zora said. Malachi's kids have siblings. I want one too. We'll see, Kairos said, but his eyes were full of hope. 6 months later, Sarah stood in the bathroom, staring at 3 pregnancy tests. All of them said the same thing. Positive. She was having a baby. Are you okay in there? Kairos asked through the door. Sarah opened it and showed him the tests. His eyes grew wide. We're having a baby, he shouted, picking her up and spinning her around. We're having a baby. That night, they told Zora over her favorite dinner, homemade pizza. I'm going to be a big sister, she screamed so loud that Mrs. Flores next door banged on the wall. Sorry, Mrs. Flores, Zora called, then whispered, I'm going to be a big sister. Some people didn't like that the CEO of Valerius Industries was having a baby with a man from the Bronx. The child will be mixed race, they whispered. Sarah stood in another board meeting, calm but strong. My child will be black and white, rich and kind and full of love, she said. They will be the future of this country, beautiful and perfect. If anyone has a problem, they can sell their shares now. No one sold. In fact, more people bought shares because they loved her courage. The community center threw her a baby shower. People who had little money brought handmade gifts, blankets, toys, tiny clothes. Sarah cried when she saw them. These are worth more than anything from Tiffany's, she told Kairos. The people here have adopted you, he said. The Ice Queen of Wall Street is now the Queen of the Bronx. Sarah laughed. I like that title better. Years later, Sarah stood with her family at the opening of a new building, the Valerius Lenoz Community Center. It was the biggest in New York, helping thousands of families. Beside her stood Kairos, Zora, now 12 and artistic, little Josiah, 4, and twins Maya and Malcolm, 2. This center exists, Sarah said, because 5 years ago, a man tried to ruin me with a bet. But that bet gave me the best gift of my life, my family. Vance was long gone and forgotten. My husband taught me that money means nothing if you don't help others, Sarah said. My daughter Zora taught me that love doesn't care about color or class. And my younger kids are growing up in a world where our love story, a white billionaire and a black community organizer, isn't strange but inspiring. She looked at Jackson, now president of the company, at Malachi and Iona, whose catering business was booming, and at Mrs. Flores, whose grandson was going to college thanks to the Lenoz Valerius scholarship. People ask if I regret the bet, Sarah smiled. How could I regret the thing that brought me home? That night, their families sat in their Bronx brownstone eating Sunday dinner with friends and relatives. The table was full of laughter. Tell us the story again, little Josiah said. Which story? Kairos asked, though he knew. How Mommy lost a bet and won everything. So they told it again. How a rich CEO married a single dad, how she moved to the Bronx and fell in love with his daughter and him, and how love changed everything. They lived happily ever after? Asked Maya. They lived happily, Sarah said, hugging her children. The ever after part we're still writing. With lots of love? Zora added. So much love, Kairos said, kissing Sarah. Outside, the Bronx glowed with life and laughter. Inside, Sira and Kairos knew they had both won. Not money, not fame, but the only bet that really mattered.